Disney World has some amazing and iconic attractions that people love to talk about. But what about those attractions that nobody even mentions? Here are the Disney World rides you should stop skipping. Don't do it. Don't sleep on it. Oh, there's a parade starting. Don't skip that either. Disney World has so many rides and attractions, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, trying to figure out, what's the most important. And we at AllEars are constantly telling you about the most popular rides and attractions in Disney World, but how about the most underrated ones? Today we're going to tell you which rides you definitely need to stop skipping in Disney World. So we're actually starting off with something a little controversial because, well, it's not a very well-liked attraction here at Disney World, but it's the Tomorrowland Speedway. Now on the Tomorrowland Speedway, that's where you can get in your own Tomorrowland car and drive around Tomorrowland. Even though Tomorrowland is supposed to be the way of the future, the cars are very much old-school, classic go-karts. Underneath these go-karts are basically a leading track, so you can't really go anywhere but straight. Now, I realize I'm definitely not talking this attraction up too much. First, let's talk about why people skip this attraction. Reasons why people skip this attraction, I get it. It's loud. The fumes, they're smelly. It's old school. And it can get really hot in the middle of the day. But here's why you shouldn't skip Tomorrowland Speedway. It has to be at a very specific time. At night, you should not skip Tomorrowland Speedway. You get to go by Tron at night, the lights on, it's much cooler, it's a longer attraction, which doesn't make you feel as silly for waiting in a little bit of a longer line. Especially when they do the holiday overlays for Tomorrowland Speedway, they've got Christmas lights up. Doing this at night is definitely a completely different experience. So if you did it during the day and you're like, I can skip this next time, give it a try at night. It might surprise you. Got a 15-minute wait. Let's still ride it in the middle of the day and wish we were riding it at night. Now, a 15-minute wait is actually on the lower side for the Tomorrowland Speedway. Typically, it's anywhere between 30 to 40-minute wait on average days, just because I think kids want to drive their own go-kart, whether or not they know you can only go forward or stop. Another thing I would be aware of, if you ride it in the middle of the day and you're wearing shorts, you might want to put like a jacket or something underneath you. So I always have these little things tied around my waist, just because the seats are going to get hot. And if you're wearing shorts and you sit down on them, it might burn you just a tad. So be aware. The thing this ride is missing is music. Oh, and we stopped. Which is why I really love the overlays, because they have Christmas music bumping in. It is a pretty solid view of Tron and Space Mountain though. I will say, I think Autopia in Disneyland is better than Tomorrowland Speedway, because there's this whole off-road section that is kind of cool. You kind of go in a, again, you're still on a lead track, but you're going in the trees and the dirt. It's kind of cool. Oh, it's hot. Wow, it's hot. Let's stick around to Tomorrowland just for a little while longer so we can revisit one of my favorite attractions, just because it's a classic. It's the Carousel of Progress. Now, the Carousel of Progress is a stage show featuring animatronics about the progression of technology over the years and how progress has affected each section of time. It is about a 20-minute show, but what I think is so interesting about this animatronic show, or show in general as opposed to other shows on property, is that instead of the stage rotating to show the audience different things, the audience rotates around the stage. I love the Carousel of Progress because it is definitely it is Walt Disney. His stamp is all over it. Originally, it premiered at the 1964 World's Fair, along with It's a Small World. A Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow is actually written by the Sherman Brothers, and the Sherman Brothers wrote all the classic Disney songs you know and love. That ride just screams classic Disney World. I'm a huge Christmas Story fan, but the voice of John, the father, is Gene Shepherd, who is the narrator from A Christmas Story. I think that's such a cool tie-in when people from outside the Disney bubble are doing things inside the Disney bubble, and you never even knew it. The last attraction that I definitely don't think you should skip while you're at Magic Kingdom is the Liberty Square riverboat, the Liberty Belle. It does leave every half hour and on the hour, and it only operates from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And what the Liberty Bell does is it takes you all the way around Tom Sawyer's Island. You see some different things that you normally wouldn't see even when you're on Tom Sawyer Island. All in all, it probably takes about 20 minutes to get all the way around Tom Sawyer Island on this steamboat. And here's why most people usually skip the Liberty Bell. Nothing really happens. I mean, it is a boat that goes around Tom Sawyer Island. There's nothing, there's no new technology. It is a steamboat. You know, it's pretty self-explained. Now, here's why you shouldn't skip the Liberty Bell. It actually shows some hidden surprises that many people miss at the Magic Kingdom. It's also really relaxing and a great place for kids to nap if you're able to grab a seat inside. Sometimes I even have lunch in there, and that is just, I mean, that's the way to do the Liberty Bell. Welcome to Epcot. There's so many different things you can do at Epcot, and probably things you miss all the time because they're hidden. Epcot is pretty big, especially within the World Showcase. Now, the World Showcase features 11 different countries, and in each country, you get a taste of the culture, a taste of the food, a taste of the drink. And within some of these countries are some really great attractions that we tend to miss. Now, here towards the back of the World Showcase is the France Pavilion. In France is where you're going to find some great table service restaurants, some great quick service restaurants. All the way in the back of France is Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, a great family trackless dark ride. But we are actually going to the middle of France to see a little flick. A little flick, not the ant. I'm talking about the Beauty and the Beast sing-along. Now, Beauty and the Beast Sing-Along is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast where, well, it's pretty self-explanatory. You sing the songs, you sing along, and you'd be surprised at how loud people around you are singing the songs. Now, it's not your typical retelling of Beauty and the Beast because, well, it's told from the viewpoint of the villain sidekick, LeFou. Apparently, LeFou was the mastermind behind all of Beauty and the Beast. Does Quincy disagree with this? Yes. But is villain representation important? Absolutely. Now, why would people skip this attraction? Probably because it's hidden, it's tucked all the way in the back of France, and people miss it because they're too busy trying to go to Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. And yes, it is a show, it's a screen, it's a movie. So typically when they hear that it's just a movie, they tend to skip it. But here's why you shouldn't skip it. It's iconic. The iconic songs of Beauty and the Beast that you know and love. It's not too long compared to other shows. It's only about a 14 to 15 minute show. Plus the AC is pumping in there, and I can feel the AC. I'm like 30 feet away from the door, and I can feel the AC. That's how much it's pumping in there. And because it's told from a completely different viewpoint from any of the Disney stories we've ever seen before, like why is it being told from the side of LeFou? It's a lot of fun. Trust me, you won't feel stupid singing along, because if everybody does it, nobody feels stupid. Definitely check out the lobby when you're waiting for the show to start, because the show does run continuously throughout the day, but when you're waiting for that show to start, check out the cases, the display cases around the area. They've got some really cool displays from like Maleficent and even a theatrical production of The Hunchback of Notre Dame. But if you want to see that show, like you're like, you know what, Beauty and the Beast sing-along, that's my must-do. I highly recommend you do that earlier on in the day, because around 7 o'clock, they actually stop playing the Beauty and the Beast sing-along and they play Impressions de France, which is a completely different film. And it's all about teaching you about the culture of France and all the sights and wonders of France. That is a great movie as well, but definitely not the Beauty and the Beast sing-along. We have made our way all the way around to the complete almost other side of the World Showcase, Mexico. Now, Mexico is probably one of my favorite countries here in the World Showcase, specifically because I think it is probably the most immersive. It completely not only transforms your surroundings, but it actually even changes it from daytime to nighttime. Not only does it have great food, but it also has my favorite bar in all of Epcot, La Cava del Tequila, which is a tequila bar. They do have other drinks other than just tequila at La Cava del Tequila, but obviously tequila is their specialty. If you follow this channel, you probably know exactly where I'm headed to, but if you don't, this is definitely one of our favorite hidden attractions here at Epcot. But it is the Grand Fiesta Tour starring the Three Caballeros. Now, if you've never ridden this before, or you always skip it, or maybe you never knew this even existed, it's totally understandable. It is kind of an older attraction. Not a lot actually really happens on the attraction other than, some video screens. It's a slow-moving boat ride. It's not as exciting as some of the other boat rides that you might find on Disney World property. However, here's why you shouldn't skip it. The Grand Fiesta Tour has some fun music. Why? It's the Three Caballeros. You can't pass that up. It's Donald Duck's only ride at Disney World, and I'm not counting PhilharMagic, that's still a show. Within the first 5 seconds, it goes through the table service restaurant here in the Mexico Pavilion, and the scenery is just beautiful. And something you can pretty much always count on, unless it's insanely busy, the Grand Fiesta Tour is typically no more than a 5 to 10 minute wait. Mostly a walk-on. My voice is a little tired, but since I've joined AllEars, I realized that I have a small hidden talent that I do a pretty solid panchito. All right, just focus on the face and listen to my voice. Donna! So dumb. We are making our way back to the front section of the park. The World of Nature section, if you will. And we are headed to the Land Pavilion. In the Land Pavilion, that's where you're gonna find Soarin', a very popular virtual hang gliding attraction, a table service restaurant, a quick service kind of a la carte eatery, a National Geographic movie, but we're headed there for the fan favorite. Disney fandom, you already know what ride this is. However, you would be surprised at how many new people or people visiting for the first time or even the second or third, they still pass this attraction because they think it's just, I don't know, vegetables, which it is, but there's something magical about them. Now, Living with the Land is another slow-moving boat ride, go figure, and it really teaches you about how Disney grows their produce, as well as how agriculture is different around the entire world. What's really cool is that some of the vegetables and fruits and some of the stuff that they're growing, you can actually eat here at Epcot. Now, people skip Living with the Land for a multitude of reasons. I think the biggest reason, people probably think it's boring. They think it's educational. They think it's a slow-moving boat ride through a garden. And honestly, it's just been around for a long time and probably isn't as exciting as a backwards launch on Cosmic Rewind. But a garden can have some Disney magic. Now, here's why you shouldn't skip Living with the Land. It's relaxing. It's really relaxing, actually. There's lots of AC. It's longer for most slow ride moving attractions, and you can actually learn about what you're eating at Disney World. My biggest plus to Living with the Land is that it is always a walk-on. Or, not always, but most of the time a walk-on. I mean, look at us go. Look at us go. There's no stopping. Ain't no stopping us now. It really is a relaxing ride. The AC is lovely, but it's just the music and like you can hear the rushing water go up the boat. It's fun fact about me. If ever I'm like overtired, you know that place where you get overtired that you just actually can't fall asleep? They have that soundtrack of Living with the Land on YouTube, and I will put it on and I will fall asleep. All right, we made it to my favorite park out of the 4 parks at Walt Disney World, Hollywood Studios. Now, here's what you definitely should not skip here at Hollywood Studios. Let's find our first attraction. We're headed to Toy Story Land. Okay, wait, who put this one on the list? We made it to our first ride at Hollywood Studios that you definitely should not skip, according to a specific team member who works at AllEars.net. Alien Swirling Saucers. And on Alien Swirling Saucers, that's where you can ride in a saucer pulled by your favorite aliens from the Pixar movie Toy Story. Now, here's why people typically skip this ride, and I include myself in that I'm one of the people who skip this ride. Technically, people think it's a kiddie ride. And for a kiddie ride, it can get pretty long lines. For example, it's a pretty slow time right now, and the wait is 50 minutes. The reason I skip this ride is because I think this is a ride that you could probably find at a local fair or carnival. It just won't look as cute because the aliens won't be involved. But according to Fry Bucket, here's why you shouldn't skip this ride. It is definitely Fry Bucket approved, and I will admit, every time I do ride this attraction, I always have more fun than I think I'm going to have because it is surprisingly fast, and they do play some really fun electronic Toy Story songs. They like take It's a Friend and Me and make it a fun kind of electronic sounding. It's a good time. This is definitely more of an experience than an attraction, but something I definitely think you should not skip next time you're visiting Hollywood Studios is Walt Disney Presents. Now, Walt Disney Presents is a walkthrough attraction that tells the story of Walt Disney and his journey to get Disneyland and Walt Disney World. It's a great exhibit inside that shows you some behind-the-scenes secrets about how they did earlier animation, about where Walt was from, some great dioramas about how they originally decided to create Disneyland, as well as a meet and greet inside that changes from time to time. Right now, Ariel from the live action, she is meeting inside of Walt Disney Presents, and they have a theater inside of Walt Disney Presents that alternates between a great movie that tells a story about Walt Disney called One Man's Dream, and from time to time they will do sneak peeks of upcoming movies. Right now they're doing a sneak peek of the live action Little Mermaid. I want to let you know why people end up skipping Walt Disney Presents. One, it's educational, and people immediately think, when they think museum or exhibit, they're like, that's, you know, I didn't come to a theme park for to learn things. I came to be thrilled. I get it. And because it is more of an exhibit walkthrough attraction, kids tend to not be super interested. However, here's why you shouldn't skip Walt Disney Presents. As I mentioned earlier, they've got an amazing meet and greet happening right now with live action Ariel. They've got a whole screening room back there where you can watch different movies, whether it be One Man's Dream or sneak peeks of upcoming movies. But really, I think it's so important to remember that Disney World, Disneyland didn't just show up one day. That yes, it was all started by a mouse, but it was also started by the people who drew that mouse and how that kind of came to be. So I think it's really important to pay homage to Walt Disney and to the Disney family, the Disney company, in that kind of way. I think that's super important and super great, and that's why you should visit just for fun. Just be like, hey, how did this come to be? Oh, let me show you. Walt Disney Presents, boom, multiplane camera. I mean, it's more than a multiplane camera, but you get the point. This is one of the coolest things, I think, in Walt Disney Presents is the actual multiplane camera, which shows you how they basically would zoom in and zoom out during animated pictures. So they would have these different panels that they would place on top of each other, and then the camera would basically pan down, and basically the image it would give it depth and perception, and that would be the end image that you would see. But there were still multiple panels, one right in front of the other. This is Paradise Pier, which was originally at Disney's California Adventure. Obviously, a lot of things have changed since then, but it's kind of cool to see where everything kind of came from. And yes, we talk about AC a lot. The AC is great, don't get me wrong, but history, baby. The final thing you definitely shouldn't skip if you're here at Hollywood Studios, don't sleep on it, is Star Tours. I know this seems like kind of a no-brainer. However, you'd be surprised. Let's get into it. Now, Star Tours is a 3D Star Wars simulation ride where you're carrying a rebel spy on board and you go on different adventures based on when you're riding. You can find yourself on planet Hoth, the ice planet, trying to escape. You can find yourself on Kashyyyk, randomly battling Wookiees, Darth Vader, Kylo. It's every timeline, every episode, depending on when you ride. It's very cool. And C-3PO is the one, it ends up being your captain, so good luck with that. Now the question is, why do people skip Star Tours? One, there's a huge Star Wars land like 40 feet behind it, so there's that. It's probably not as exciting as, you know, the new Star Wars stuff happening. And because it's not in Galaxy's Edge, it's probably pretty easy for people to ignore. However, I will take back my earlier statements that I have said in previous videos. My mind has been changed, just because I've ridden it a bunch lately, and I'm a changed man. You definitely shouldn't sleep on Star Tours because this is the OG Star Wars ride. This is the ride that started it all, that started the relationship between George Lucas and Disney, and but I guess it was the introduction to Star Wars here at Walt Disney World. In case you haven't ridden it in a while, they do update the stories, update basically the adventures you're going on. It can be different any time you ride it, and that's huge for the repeatability factor. You can go up this a couple different times and still have a completely different experience. With all this being said, here's my biggest warning, which is why it was a skippable ride for me, is that it does cause motion sickness. It's basically a big shaky box. However, here's a pro tip. The closer you sit to the center of the ride vehicle, the less shaky it's going to be. The entire attraction tilts on an axis. So the closer you sit to the center, the less motion sickness you're probably going to be. The farther you sit to the side, the front, or the back, the more motion you're going to get. So know before you go. All right, for Animal Kingdom, we're going to do a quick fire. First things first, let's start with the show. Feathered Friends in Flight. Do not skip it. Now, this is a show all about how Disney trains and takes care of different birds in the animal kingdom. Now, a reason people skip this show is because there's not really any intellectual property tied to it, which can seem kind of uninteresting for people. If people are going to go see a show, they typically go see Festival of the Lion King or Finding Nemo, Big Blue and Beyond. Why? Because they know Lion King, they know Finding Nemo, the movies, you know, that they get it. So, it might not be interesting for the average Disney World goer. Another reason why people might skip it is because people just kind of don't know about it. It's kind of tucked back in Asia. People don't really talk about it, and it doesn't really happen that many times a day. But here's why you definitely shouldn't skip it. While there have been different incarnations of the show in the past, this is definitely the best version because they do make the star of the show the birds. It's super entertaining, and there's a lot of great audience participation, interaction. You get up-close interactions with some of these really exotic, larger-than-life birds. And some of the interactions can be really surprising, so that alone is worth a watch. One of my personal favorite reasons is you can actually bring drinks inside. It is a covered outdoor theater. You can have your drink and you can watch the birds do their thing. It's great. It's a great break out of the sun with a beverage and entertainment. And shout out to the amazing host. You guys are always funny and entertaining, and thanks for being so engaging all the time. Really, really great work. Another attraction you shouldn't skip, and I'm using attraction lightly, that word very lightly, is the Wildlife Express. Now, the Wildlife Express is a train ride that takes you to a different, almost hidden part of Animal Kingdom. Now, why do people skip it? Because it's really hidden. It is actually, you can miss it like that. There's one kind of like small sign for it, underneath a sign for a completely different attraction. But why you shouldn't skip it, in case you are looking to do something a little bit different at Animal Kingdom, the train actually gives you a behind-the-scenes glimpse of how they take care of the animals at Animal Kingdom. They actually let you see backstage areas, basically back behind the safari, the Kilimanjaro Safari. You can see where all the animals are being kept, some of their holding areas, some of their like pathways in order to get to where the safari trucks can actually see them. It's really interesting, really unique, and in case you're looking to do something different, definitely don't skip that. The Wildlife Express actually gets you from Africa, and it takes you behind the scenes. You see all the things, and then it takes you to Rafiki's Planet Watch, where the final experience that you definitely should not skip in case you're looking to do something a little different. I'm really bad at it, but it's the animation experience at Rafiki's Planet Watch. And it's pretty self-explanatory. The animation experience is where a Disney animator teaches you to draw a Disney animal character. Now, if you're interested, check out where Emma, Quincy, and we did our best day ever, and we did the animation experience, and we drew Shere Khan from the Jungle Book. And, well, you can see the different talents that we all have. Now, similar to the Wildlife Express, the reason that people skip it is because it's in a completely different part of Animal Kingdom. You literally have to take a hidden train ride to get to Rafiki's Planet Watch to get to the animation experience. It's super hidden, and how would you know about it? But you really shouldn't skip it because it is super unique. It is an actual Disney animator. They're teaching us how to draw step by step. Plus, you get a free souvenir. Whatever you drew, that is now your gift from the Animal Kingdom. So congratulations, free souvenir. Whoever said Disney wasn't free? Lots of people said Disney wasn't free. And those are all the attractions you definitely shouldn't skip next time you're visiting Walt Disney World. If you like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. Then go watch Breedlove. Check out the easiest way to ride everything at Disney World. Bye.